We're going in depth tonight. College enrollment is open at some area colleges, and more adult learners are returning to the classroom. A new research reveals some working adults who return to the classroom can expect to see their salary potential more than double.
Well, that's pretty good, right? Fox Carolina's Arthur Mondale explains what sectors are offering the biggest payout, and is now the time to go back to school.
Tori and Justin, it depends. It's no secret a lot of employers are hiring, but some jobs will require a certification, while others could require another degree. But the experts say there's a payoff.
Learning from the past is a huge thing for today, honestly.
Yes, Samuel Hipp knows the relevance of studying U.S. history.
Making sure we don't make the same mistakes that people before us made is one of the biggest benefits of learning history.
He likes the discipline so much, he graduated with a 4-year degree in history in May 2021.
I was making some okay money and I had some decent benefits, but something was missing.
As of August, he's now enrolled in the paralegal program at Greenville Technical College, a program he can complete in 3 semesters.
There's a path, there's a very visible path.
And Hipp is not alone, looking for paths offering upward mobility and salaries.
Really, the larger part of our students are our non-traditional students.
Dr. Latimer is the Dean of Enrollment Services at Greenville Tech, a school that's seen a 20% increase in enrollment over last year. The average student age is 27.
We have a lot of career changers, people who've decided, hey, I'm ready to finally take a stab at going back to college or finish a degree.
And the timing isn't by chance.
There's nothing wrong with going to a class and learning something new.
Really just reassessing life.
Any specialized training you get is going to increase your value to an employer.
Research from sources like Lightcast reveals adult learners who return to school can see a 140% increase in their salaries. And choosing an associate's in industries including healthcare, engineering, computer information sciences, and information technology can lead to higher rates of mobility than some bachelor's degrees.
Because the demand's so high, the pay grade is that much higher. And so you see things like that happen across information technologies as well and engineering, because people are still building buildings and they're still building roads. There's still growth in this area.
Dr. Morton stresses upward mobility may come from a practical skills certificate program that can be completed in a year.
If an individual comes here for like welding or trucking, truck driver training, they can expect to make in a neighborhood of $60,000 to $80,000 in the first year.
Now, Greenville Tech joins other technical colleges in the state still offering zero tuition for those enrolled in a high-demand field. To learn more, just visit our website. Arthur Mondale, Fox Carolina News.